We have a shocking Pittsburgh Penguins update to go over today as it pertains to the future of this team. And this update will have major implications on next season. We're going to break down what it is and what it means, as well as some other comments from Kyle Dubas on rebuild or retool and what he's thinking for the future of this team. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your Pittsburgh Penguins, every little thing that happens as we head into the draft, the offseason, free agency, all that fun stuff, there's a lot going on. But let's also not forget a lot of the guys that are going to be on this team next year playing in the AHL playoffs right now. We're going to break that down as well, and it's free. Hit that subscribe button. You get to stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins. But let's dive right into it. Some heartbreaking news, and this is a major update and, will have a major impact on the Pittsburgh Penguins next season, or, as soon as next season, and that is Tanner Howe has torn essentially his ACL, and he went under successful ACL reconstruction surgery yesterday. And this is something I didn't actually take into account at first when I saw this. The expected recovery timeline is 9 months, so this player will not be ready for the start of next season. Absolutely heartbreaking for him, for the organization, because I'm sure they wanted to get him, kick-started and ready to go next season. And if you take a look at his stats this year, and again, shout out to Penn's Prospects on X for this, Tanner Howe's season recap, and also they were in the middle of playoffs right now in the WHL where he plays, and unfortunately this happened to him, and it was an undisclosed injury. That's what it started as, and then obviously they got some clarity on it, and he's already undergone successful surgery, which is good news. But the recovery timeline is absolutely heartbreaking. But as you can see here with the Regina Pats, he played 10 games. He had 6 goals, 1 assist, and 7 points in those games. He was obviously traded mid-season, I should mention that as well, in the WHL to go on a bit of a playoff run, and will not be doing that, unfortunately. But with the Calgary Hitmen this year, he had 37 games played. He had 12 goals and 27 assists for 39 points in 37 games. And keep in mind, again, this is a second-round pick from last year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So is he going to be in the NHL next year? No, but maybe. Well, certainly not anymore at this point, but, I think that there was definitely an avenue for him to start to go pro, and I just wonder if this injury has jeopardized that a little bit. And then in this year's playoffs, he had 9 points in 6 playoff games, which I know it's junior, but those are good numbers for junior playoffs. The games are tight as well, right? So I wanted to go on and say here that, Penn's Prospects also gives a bit of a rundown on the player in case you don't know who he is or what he's about. Again, second-round pick from last year. Tanner Howe began the season with the Regina Pats, and then he was leading they were a struggling team. He was leading them points, all of that stuff, strong leadership. Despite being on a rebuilding squad, he set the tone right after every night. An early season trade, which is uncharacteristic in junior hockey. It's more so closer to the deadline around January, but an early season trade sent him to a contending team in the Calgary Hitmen, and unfortunately he will not be with them for the rest of that playoff run. But he went on to say, he plays with pace, vision, tenacity, a combination that makes life difficult for opposing teams. Like, this is going to be a really good player, and I hope that he comes back at 100%. I mean, I guess you're never really 100% after injuries like this one, but as close to 100% as you can get. And his play style is tailor-made for playoff hockey, and he shows it by dominating in the opening round, which he did. But after his injury, Calgary didn't look the same without him. This morning, it was confirmed that Howe underwent successful ACL reconstruction surgery and will be sidelined for 9 months. And yeah, strong blow after a great season. And next season too, what does that bring next season? But he did say here, and I thought this was really cool, but with the mindset he brings to the ice, don't be surprised if he comes back even stronger and hungrier than before. And I think the Penguins need more guys with that mindset. And if you're like, where have I recognized this name before as well? He was playing in the World Juniors this year for Team Canada, scored a couple big goals in that tournament as well. So he is going to be a real good player. It's unfortunate that his playoff run that, looks like he could have went on a bit of a run with the Calgary Hitmen came to a, halt there, a sudden halt. But looks like, again, his season was ended due to the injury, which is not great. And he was actually in town with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the building to take in some stuff the other day, and he had an undisclosed injury at the time, which was this injury. I guess they were just figuring out how severe it was. So again, tough break for this player. But let me know in the comments what you think of Tanner Howe. I think he's going to be a very good player, and again, that's a tough blow heading into next season. Move on a little bit here. The seasons for a lot of guys who are on the Pittsburgh Penguins this year is not done yet. They are in the AHL playoffs against, it's almost a rivalry series at this point. It's Lehigh Valley Phantoms versus the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Try saying that 10 times fast. But 5-2 is the final in game 1 for obviously Lehigh Valley. They beat the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, as the Penguins do manage to get 2 late goals from Avery Hayes and Gabe Klassen. Now, Avery Hayes, I think, is going to be another really good player we got to keep an eye on over the next couple of years. I mean, his time with the Hamilton Bulldogs as well in the OHL. I think he spent some time with the Brantford Bulldogs too. So, he was a really, really good dynamic player in the OHL. So, I'm sure that's going to translate to the pro level on a consistent basis. So that's going to be fun to watch as well. But Avery Hayes did score the first goal of the playoffs. It was already 5-0 at this point. So not a great look. And for those of you who forget, the first round of the AHL playoffs, it could end very quickly. Friday's already an elimination game. So Wilkes-Barre Scranton needs to win that game. And maybe some extra motivation heading into that game, because Lehigh Valley Phantoms forward Alex Bump began and ended his media availability after game 1, taking shots at the Penguins defense. And he went on to say some, words here about the defense. Their D didn't want to play a hard game. Like I said, they don't like to defend, soft defenders, in my opinion. So this is bulletin board material, if you ask me, for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. And they have a couple guys on that team that, Penguins fans should be really excited to watch in this year's AHL playoffs for what they do, but it looks like they're not really making a difference so far. Again, this is the schedule coming up. They play Friday. It's in Lehigh Valley, against the Phantoms, and then obviously there is a game 3. So it's a best of 3 at this point for the first round of the AHL playoffs. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is, again, this is the schedule again, but a couple of the players. Like, we know Ville Koivunen is going to be, a hot topic of discussion in this series. He's got to get going. He looked like, when he was sent back down after the Penguins season ended, a man playing amongst, children a little bit with the way he was snapping the puck around. So looking for him to kind of dominate next game. They're going to need him big time, and keep an eye on him. There's a couple other guys, right? And again, despite missing the final few weeks of the AHL regular season, Koivunen, finished 3rd amongst AHL rookies in points and 7th in goals. So that's pretty good for that player, despite being literally called up to the NHL at the end of the season. And Lehigh Valley's leading scorer during the regular season was a 25-year-old Swedish forward, Oli Lysell, and I believe that's how you pronounce it, who registered 19 goals and 44 points in 43 games. So those are things to keep in mind during this series, but it's going to get very interesting here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So let me know in the comments what you think about Tanner Howe's injury. I think he's going to be a very special player. I think the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins have a bunch of very special players, and I'm hoping they can win the next 2 games, because I want to see what Rucker McGroarty can do in the AHL playoffs. So here's to hoping they win the next 2 games and eliminate Lehigh Valley, and it should be a very interesting end to the season here. But let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.